Hi, welcome to the second part of the Moodle installation series. In the first part, we looked at quite a number of things. So we focused on installing Moodle on a web host, and we went through the various steps needed. So in this part, we'll continue from where we stopped the last time and install Moodle proper. Now, these are the installation steps for installing Moodle proper, and we are towards the end. The first step is to manually create an empty database. We'll also need to create a database user and a database password. So to do that, we have to go back to the site. So this is our hosting site, the control panel. And remember, we came here the last time to the file manager, uploaded the Moodle file ready for installation process. Now we are going to go into creating the database. Remember, we talked about MySQL database as one of the important things that must be on a web host before we can install Moodle. Right now, we'll go ahead and set up our database to receive the information for the Moodle installation. So we come under databases, and a very quick way to go about it is actually to use the MySQL database wizard. Now, this makes the process of setting up the database to host all our files very easy. So simply click on MySQL database wizard. So this brings you to a place where you can create a database. So you can give your database a name, maximum of 54 characters. So supposing we give this database name testing, any name can suffice, and then click on next. Okay, so this takes us to where we need to create a database user. So a database user will usually help to access the database and make it more secured. So we can put in any name for the database user. For instance, I can call it my user. It is important to note that anything you put regarding the database, you need to take note of it because you will use it when you come down to install the Moodle properly. You can also generate the password. So you can put in your password, and usually for databases that are online, it is advisable that we have very strong password. And possibly that's why we have a password generator by the side here. So you can click on it and it gives you a very complex password. So in this case, we can copy it down. And you need to copy the password in a safe place. It's very important you do that because if you forget this password, you will not be able to proceed with the Moodle installation. So I simply have a notepad I've just created here. And in the notepad, I have the database username, the database user, the database name, and also the database password. So since I've copied the password, I want to put it in a safe place so that I can remember when it comes to putting it down the line. So I've checked on this option, so I can simply say use password, and it says it's a very strong password, so I can be sure that the database is safe and it will not be easily hacked by malicious people. But I still need to record my database name and database user. But to do that, I'll just first of all click on create user because while on this page, I can see clearly what is the database user's name and then the database name. So I like to copy it from this place. I can copy it and put it on my notepad. So this is the database user. I put it under user and I paste it there. Then also the database name, I copy the database name and also record it down. Very important to record these details as they will be important. Then there is another section here where what privilege do you want to give to this user that is going to be responsible for administering this database. It's an internal user, so usually it's just safe to click all privileges. It makes things a little bit easier down the line. So after that, just click on next step. Okay, so fine, we have recorded everything and it tells us our user with this username is being created and also added to the database testing. So we are ready to go. So the next step is to go to the web browser. We put the URL that points to the Moodle folder. So to do that, we'll have to go back online. So I'm back on my web browser. So I need to use my domain name. And if you recall, in the last section when we uploaded into the file, let me just quickly go there. So let's go to advanced. Remember the file manager, okay? And then in the file manager, we had the public HTML as a place where we put in all public files. So this is where we uploaded our Moodle file at that point that we downloaded, and we unzipped it, we extracted it, and it gave us this particular file. So this is the file we're going to reference using the web browser, and it will help us to begin the installation process. So I need now to put in the name of my site /Moodle to access this file and begin the installation process. So to do that, I just go to my web browser, just open a new tab, okay, and begin to type my domain name. Remember, the domain name I registered is onlinecourses-training.net. So all I need to do is to reference the Moodle file that contains all the Moodle installation and click on enter. If you're able to see this page, that means you are able to successfully enter into the Moodle folder that you uploaded earlier on. And so from here, the steps are very, very straightforward. So the next thing is we'll now go to the next step, which says that you select the language, click next, enter the database settings, and then go on. So we go back online and follow this step, click next to move forward. So from this stage, all things being equal, we are good to go. So it tells you put the web address, Moodle directory, data directory, fine. So I can create a directory for my Moodle data, okay? So you can choose to put something here. For instance, since I'm working on a test server, I can put test Moodle data to be my data directory. I simply click next after this. Here, just simply click next. So you come to the point where we have to enter the database settings. Remember the settings we wrote earlier. This is where it becomes useful. Now, I must tell you that this step can be very painful if you've lost your data. You almost have to begin almost from the beginning, setting up your database and putting a lot of other information. But since we have recorded it already, so I'll just come here and pick my database user. So it starts by saying, what's your database host, local host, my database name. In this case, it's this. So I copy it exactly as it is and paste it under the database name. Okay. So my database user, I come in and select the user as it is here. Just copy it and paste it exactly. Then the database password. Okay. That's the third one. I copy this information and I paste it. After this, I can leave everything as the way they are. The database port and all can be left alone. The system will determine it. Then I click on next. Now, if my data is correct in this stage, it will take me to another page that allows me to continue with the installation. So already it tells me I'm here, meaning my database setting is okay. And I'm in the Moodle installation itself. So it asks me to confirm. Have you read the conditions and understood them? So I simply click continue. So clicking on continue, there are now server checks. Now, if the server is having any problem, it's going to indicate here and it needs to be solved. If you see an information on yellow, it's just a warning. You can check, correct it if possible, but otherwise you can go on. Here is just telling about enabling a setting which all can be done later on, and full Unicode support. This can be done. So, but you'll notice that every other thing is okay. It says okay, okay, okay. So that's okay. So your server condition meets all minimum requirements. If you're able to get here, it's a big step. So just click on continue. It takes a little bit of time. Okay. And so it tells me success, success in a lot of things. That means my server is okay and it's making very good progress. So all I need to do is to scroll down and just click on continue. Right. So getting to this page, I'm nearing the end of the installation process because it's giving me an opportunity to put in my username and also create password. So username admin, you can leave it at the default admin. Every other thing else can be left at the default, but it's necessary to put in a new password. Okay, so you create a password and it has to be a complex password. I can go back to my notepad and try to put the details. So I have my Moodle username. So the Moodle username is admin. I need to keep this recorded somewhere. So the password has to be complex. So I can, for instance, write password, not secure, but I can put hyphen and hash, a complex character, and it must also have a digit. So I can put 2020, for instance. Okay, so I believe this should be a fairly complex password. So you can click on the I button to see the password that you have entered. So the next thing is to put in a name. I can put in my name as the admin user, first name, surname, okay, and email address, very important. I can select default country. I'm here in Nigeria, so I'll just select Nigeria. One can put additional names and optional things, but let's just be sure that the ones that are in red, that's their compulsory, are all filled up. And then click on Update Profile. So if all the information is entered, it's going to now take us to our Moodle site. All right, so we are almost done. The last bit again is to put in the site full name. So I can just call it online training and then short name for the course. I can say online or just simply training. Now all this data can be changed as required. So it's not necessary the most accurate information be put in at this time. So after doing that, all we need to do is to click on Save Changes. Here we are. We now have our Moodle site up and running. Anyone can access it everywhere. And so this brings us to the end of this part, but there is something else to complete, like complete your site registration. So if your site is going to go into production immediately, you can immediately put in your details and register it, and it will form part of the statistics that we explained in part 1, where we talked about Moodle registered sites, sites that have registered Moodle. This is where the information is gotten after the installation. But it's not obligatory that you fill the details now. So you can go to the site administration or go to the dashboard and begin creating your courses. Congratulations, we have Moodle installed. So this concludes this step. Now let's quickly go on to part 3. Now this part 3 is having Moodle installed on a local server. Remember I mentioned earlier on that there are several ways you can install Moodle. Part of it is you just want it on your laptop. You want to use it on your own without necessarily going to the internet. So this step helps us to see how we can do it. And it's actually very simple. All we need to do is to go to download.moodle again, .org, but this time we go to where it says Windows. I'm using a Windows computer. if you are using a Mac or Linux, it's the same thing. You can have installers that can be very quick to install on the local system. So, but Moodle has a very good package for Windows, and this URL leads us there. So I just come in and click on again to download one of the version. This is a development version. The last one I downloaded was the 3.9.1 version. So I will just do the same here now. So just click on zip download and then it begins to download. So the download is over now and I can see it here. So I just need to click and go to the downloads folder. So here is my downloaded file. The next thing to do will be to extract this file. So I can extract with any of these extraction tools. So I'll just use zzipped and it tells me how to extract. I just select the default and click on OK. So the extraction process goes, and once the file is extracted, it is ready to be used. So after the file is extracted, we'll click on Moodle Windows Installer, and there is a README file there. So the README file gives you the instruction on what to do. For instance, it says you should run moodle.exe. Click Start and Stop moodle.exe. And then when you are done, you visit the local host and then your site will be up. Okay, so let's click on Start Moodle. So it gives us this information that it's trying to configure XAMPP. Now, XAMPP is the Apache, MySQL, and PHP. It brings this information. Will you like to access this? So just click on Allow Access and Allow Access. So as we can see here, Apache and MySQL is running. So you can click Stop to stop the application from running. So by all indication, we are ready to have our Moodle installed on our local system. So how do we access it? Remember from the file, it just tells us to go to the web browser, visit HTTP localhost. So I just need to copy this, put it on my browser, and enter. All things being equal, I already have all the basic things installed. It should bring out my installation file. Here it is. So I am now ready to access Moodle on the local system. So that's how to get Moodle installed on a local server. So when it's all done, you have it ready locally and you also have it ready online. So in this series, we have looked at how to install Moodle on a web host and also on a local environment.